afternoon, everyone. I am Congressman Mondaire Jones, proudly representing parts of Westchester County and all of Rockland County in the United States Congress, and I'm really proud to be joined by a number of my friends and just fantastic, incredible public servants. Obviously, the chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, Ben Boykin, the superintendent of the White Plains School District, Superintendent Rika, and of course, the Deputy Commissioner of the Theodore Young Community Center, Mr. Terrence Jackson. And we are here to discuss the most transformative piece of economic legislation in modern American history, that being the American Rescue Plan. When I got elected to Congress, I said that I would go to Washington and fight for the communities that sent me there. And that is precisely what I did. And I am proud to be bringing home much needed resources in the midst of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression and the worst public health crisis in a century. The American Rescue Plan provides transformative, life-changing, urgently needed relief for the American people, including right here in Westchester and in Rockland counties. You cannot make up or exaggerate how necessary it is to have this relief in order to, as the President of the United States has said, build back better and lift us out of this devastation that we have been experiencing. When COVID-19 first popped up about a year ago today, it hit Westchester County and Rockland counties the hardest. And families, working families, are still struggling to get out of the crisis. This is a plan that will invest $71 billion in vaccinations and in testing. And separate and apart from that, $25 billion for the purpose of addressing the health disparities that we have seen exacerbated in the midst of the pandemic. $128 billion to safely reopen our K-12 schools. I had the opportunity to visit White Plains High School last week, and I spoke to Superintendent Rika, who told me that as much as $7 million of the White Plains School District's budget had been diverted to deal with COVID-19. And now the White Plains School District is going to get many millions of dollars to address the COVID-19 pandemic and to safely reopen these public schools. In New York's 17th Congressional District, received as public schools over $400 million. Over $400 million for public schools in New York's 17th Congressional District, including hundreds of millions of dollars for the East Ramapo Central School District. I'm proud to say, as a former graduate of that school district, who has witnessed just a few weeks ago the announcement mid-year that as many as 32 staff persons would need to be laid off and that classes would need to be combined. That's unconscionable, but help is on the way. The American Rescue Plan, of course, is providing immediate cash assistance in the form of $1,400 survival checks. Some people call them stimulus checks. They are more like survival checks. For as many as 85% of American households, as well as direct cash assistance in the form of an expanded, dramatically expanded, child tax credit. That is going to lift half of the children who are currently in poverty out of poverty. You name me any other piece of legislation that has literally cut child poverty in half. That is what the American Rescue Plan is doing this year. It is refundable, by the way, and expanded. And so people should expect to receive money from those child tax credits as early as July of this year on a monthly basis for the period of 1 year, beginning in approximately July. And that's just the beginning. We know that this bill includes $350 billion in direct aid for states and local municipalities like Westchester and Rockland counties. New York State is going to receive $23 billion, and that includes the money that's going to be allocated to municipalities. Westchester County is going to receive $187 million in direct aid from the American Rescue Plan. Rockland County is going to receive $63 million. The Rockland County government alone. We know that right here in the city of White Plains, that the White Plains government will receive $22 million in direct aid from the American Rescue Plan. Name me a piece of legislation from the federal government that has done something like that before. Not in modern history. And this, of course, is money that is going to be used to help fill in the gaps. All of those budgets that have been decimated by the COVID-19 pandemic, that has really left our municipalities struggling to deliver essential government services. They are going to receive urgently needed help. And they're going to also be able to invest some of that money in infrastructure, much needed infrastructure that is going to improve the lives of middle class working people all across this county and of course across the river in Rockland County. So the American Rescue Plan is transformative. It is a great start to building back better. I'm going to continue to fight for a $15 minimum wage. And of course, I'm going to continue to fight for a healthcare system that delivers necessary medical care for literally everybody. And you will also see me continue to fight for our small businesses. I'm proud that this American Rescue Plan allocates billions of dollars, over $20 billion, as part of a restaurant revitalization fund. It expands the PPP program significantly and also expands eligibility for that program and extends it to nonprofits. We also, in the American Rescue Plan, have allocated tens of billions of dollars for child care programs, including child care nonprofits that are going to be receiving this money right here in New York's 17th Congressional District. So I'm really excited about this. It is transformative. I promised I would bring back relief to this district. I did it, and I'm going to keep fighting. This is just the beginning. And with that said, I would love to introduce my friend and my county legislator, the chair of the Westchester County Board of Legislators, Benjamin White.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Congressman Jones. I'm very pleased to be here for this fantastic announcement today. And just let me say on a personal note, from the county attorney's office to the halls of Congress, my Congressman, Mondaire Jones. Okay? The COVID-19 pandemic has caused us deep personal loss, economic instability, and social dislocation across this county and across this nation. Building back better is what the American Rescue Plan is doing. And it starts with the vaccination. We need to get everyone vaccinated. But it will require local, county, state, and the federal government working together with ingenuity and determination to make sure that we can continue to provide essential services. People are hurting. We've got food insecurity. We've got housing evictions that are going to take place. We've got small businesses that need support. We've got schools that need support. We've got children that need support. We've got so many of our nonprofit organizations that need support. And the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan is there to help us all. This is really a lifeline that will help us get and build back better. It has come at the appropriate time. As Congressman Jones stated, the county of Westchester will receive roughly $187 million. The school districts are going to receive money, and they will soon be reopening full time so that our kids can get back. There's going to be money in there to help with the mental health issues that we're going to be facing for generations to come. So we are very pleased that Congressman Jones has been able to secure these funds for the county of Westchester, for the county of Rockland, to help us all as we recover from this pandemic, which will have long-term effect. So as chair of the Board of Legislators, on behalf of all 17 legislators and behalf of the county executive, Congressman Mondaire Jones, thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce my friend, the superintendent of the White Plains City School District, Dr. Joe.
Chairman. Good afternoon. When we think about schools here in White Plains or Westchester County, the state of New York, or nationally, we think about and recognize how important it is for our children to be in classrooms with their teachers each and every day. On behalf of the boards of education here in Westchester County, my colleagues, superintendents, and educators everywhere, a huge thank you to Congressman Jones and our elected officials who made this investment in our country and our communities possible. This is not a bailout, this is not a stimulus, it's an investment in the United States of America. It's an investment in our children and our families and our communities. Because of this investment, we will very soon be welcoming all of our children back into our classrooms 5 days a week. In White Plains, beginning on the 22nd of March, we're phasing in all of our kids. This is great news. This is the beginning of the United States of America emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic, and it doesn't happen without bold leadership like Congressman Jones. He promised us that when he went to Washington that he would bring our needs to the floor, and he did. Congressman, you should know that we're all indebted to you, and we will continue to work hard and collaboratively to make sure that we restore and build back better. In the White Plains City School District, we know and we think we're pretty darn good right now, and we know that with this support, we'll be able to do even more. So on behalf of everybody here in our community, thank you so much for that help. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend, Deputy Commissioner of the Theodore Young Community Center, Terrence Jackson.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mondaire, for inviting me today to talk about the multicultural investment that this will also have. In the town of Greenburgh, one of the greatest towns and most diverse towns you will find in Westchester, our children are ones that have been hurt very much by this whole pandemic. But this stimulus, this investment, much better said, is going to help them in so many different ways. And when you talk about a center like ours, which is better known as the Department of Community Resources in the town of Greenburgh, it goes very far to helping add on to what maybe the school system cannot do after the 3:30 time frame. Programs that help not only in schoolwork, which is most important, but also in the further education and upbringing of a child. But our center is so much more than that. You go from our youth to our young adults, to our young parents, to our seniors who have also been devastated during this time. That we have done so much to make sure that they are safe, they are fed, they are being spoken to, and communicating with human beings. That's the kind of work that we do, and that's the kind of work that will be sustained by this investment in our community. That's what it's all about. Thank you to everyone who has been involved with this, but most importantly, Mondaire Jones, who's championing these kind of efforts for Westchester County and so much far beyond. We hope this continues. We hope everything that promotes positive change and building back a strong community continues. Hopefully, bipartisan would be helpful, but we'll hopefully get there as well. Thank you so much for a moment of your time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
So thank you, everyone who's joined us this afternoon. We'll now be able to take questions primarily on the American Rescue Plan. So if you have any questions on the American Rescue Plan, you may ask them now.
one of the great things about the American Rescue Plan that is different from other COVID-19 relief bills thus far is the fact that the school district funding now has to go to those schools. The state of New York can, for the most part, not exercise discretion with respect to how that money is used. There is a Title I formula that, among other things, takes into account the number of school-age children in the district and what number of those children are in poverty. It's why you'll see school districts like East Ramapo literally getting hundreds of millions of dollars. I think the city of Detroit public school district is getting close to $1 billion. And so this is really transformative. You know, this is not relying on a property tax-based system to allocate funds to different school districts. This is relying on a metric of actual need in those school districts of those students. It is why this is such a strong anti-poverty program and why it can be invested so heavily in the infrastructure we need. Yeah, let me clarify that. You know, when I said $23 billion, I am only talking about direct aid to the state and to local municipalities herein. That is completely separate from the $9.2 or $3 billion that is going to New York State and its districts and the school districts for the purpose of K through 12 education. Those are separate piles of money. There are the state, I think it's forecasted about a $15 billion budget delivers more money to New York State than the state government asks for from the federal government by billions of dollars. Any other questions?
I both topic.
I think I know what this is going to be.
Earlier today, you and other members of the delegation called up the governor to step aside. She had time to go. The governor said that some elected officials would take those the general counsel on the papers and not facts would be reckless and irresponsible. How do you respond?
Yeah. Public reporting that has been done on individual subjects, as well as the investigation on treatment of seniors in our nursing homes throughout the state. All of those are policies and not susceptible to opinions. And for that reason, I came to the conclusion that I and so many other people throughout the New York State Legislature and the federal government, look at the New York Congressional Delegation, came to today.
If he doesn't resign, would you support a call to impeach him?
Yes, I would. I would. I think we have to move forward in New York State. And we must move forward with a leader in whom we can be confident, who has high ethical standards, and who is committed to working collaboratively with the Democratic legislature. For example, we are entering budget season, and we cannot afford distractions. If you look at my statement, we'll see that I have concerns about alleged structural defects and with respect to the Mario Cuomo Bridge, which thousands of New Yorkers, myself included, have frequently in the midst of this pandemic and the attempted cover-up, not just by the governor, but members of his own staff. And so many other things, completely unrelated, frankly, to allegations by at least 6 women, several of whom have worked for him in recent weeks. Yes, sir.
Why not expect
I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, there's why now
You know, it has been a long time coming. And the fact is, I and other members of the New York Congressional Delegation wanted to continue to see facts as they were unfolded. And of course, we wanted to defer to the state legislature, which has to work most closely with the governor. And if there are no other questions on the American Rescue Plan, the most transformative piece of economic legislation in modern American history, I I thank you for joining me today, and I appreciate your important public service. American Rescue Plan. American Rescue Plan.
Yes, that's it. So we heard the talks about how White Plains is going to be reopening and to 5 days a week in the near future. Have you been hearing from other school districts in Rockland County and parts of Westchester who are doing similar things, and what sort of time frames are you looking at and hearing about?
You know, every school district has managed the COVID-19 pandemic differently. Not all school districts are able to reopen in the way that the White Plains leadership has very ably and capably been able to do so. I think opening on March 27th in that school district. Of course, there are disparities across school districts in terms of what they can afford to do. You know, I mentioned that the East Ramapo Central School District superintendent a few weeks ago announced that as many as 32 staff persons would have to be eliminated in terms of their employment. And that is just deeply concerning to me and obviously to the parents and teachers in that district. And so, you know, this is money that can go to purchasing PPE, to transportation adjustments in the midst of a social distancing environment, and of course also in the hiring of teachers and staff. In many instances, folks who would have been hired anyway if they had the resources, if the school districts had those resources. So I'm really excited to make sure that we, and also to make up for the learning loss that has occurred and that has particularly afflicted lower income communities, which tend to be communities of color in this district and throughout the country.
Is your expectation that every school district in your congressional district will now be able to have kids in learning possibly 5 days a week now?
I am deferring to those school districts with respect to how they are going to structure their curriculums and their learning programs. My job is to ensure that they have the resources to do whatever they want to do in the best interest of the students that they represent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.